Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for the Orns observation on the transfer deadline and the transfer window in general over the last, what, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, whenever it's been, however long it's been, for Watford Football Club. As the window has shut in the United Kingdom, it shut at 11 p.m. on Tuesday night, January the 31st. And as far as Watford's wheelings and dealings are concerned, I think it's a pretty good transfer window for Watford all in all. When you consider everything and you consider that January is usually a very, very difficult time to expect big things in terms of signings coming in. And if you're not a big club and you're not a big spending club, and that would be where Watford are, in terms of a team that a club that is not a big spending club and is not a big club compared to say the likes of a Liverpool or Manchester City or Manchester United, you're not going to be bringing in world beating players. So let's look at it from that perspective and let's give some context to all of this. But given everything that we know, especially with the situation of being cash strapped as Watford FC are, I think this was a very good transfer window. I'd probably actually let me just really give the proper context. I think it's a B minus in terms of what Watford did. They brought in 7 or 8 players, and that would be at the behest of the Watford technical director Ben Manga, who I think has done an excellent job since he's come in. Of course, he's got a great reputation. He's highly thought of, well thought of as an excellent technical director, and worked wonders for Frankfurt when he was there. Nothing, no negative thing was said about him. He's absolutely the bee's knees. And Helena Costa, also, who is the head of scouting at Watford Football Club, has done a very good job as well. Both of them should be praised so far for the acquisitions. I don't see anything wrong with any of the acquisitions they've brought in thus far. These are serviceable players. If you look at who Watford brought in, Leandro Bacuna, a veteran midfielder, has come in for Watford. He was one of their first signings under Ben Manga and Helena Costa. And of course, we know as well that Mateus Martins had come in from Fluminense, 19 or 20-year-old young lad who is just terrific. He's been really good for Watford. He's been the most eye-catching player I think that Watford have brought in this window. And then you look at the likes of Kone, the Canadian international as well, 19 or 20 years old, 21 years old, who, of course, was in the World Cup, had 2 electrifying first games for Watford. The last couple of games, he's not been so much a part of the action, but look, he's a serviceable player too in the midfield. Has done a very good job otherwise. And then you bring in someone like a João Ferreira from Benfica, who is a right back and who is very direct and who scored a really good goal against Rotherham when we really needed it. Unfortunately, he's presently injured, but he is going to help Watford out. And we've seen what's happened also when you look at players the likes of Britt Assombalonga, who has come in, the striker, 30 years of age, and he used to, of course, be at Watford. I think his career started at Watford about 10 years or so ago. He has been a terrific player wherever he's gone, and his goal scoring ratio, no doubt, will continue. 1 in 3, 1 in 4 type striker. And I think he'll probably get a few more goals than that ratio when he starts to play for Watford. I think he will be very good in this front line. He gives a lot of experience and leadership in the front line, beefs up the front line, literally and figuratively. And he's a durable, strong player. And he's going to be a real good asset for Watford in this, the prime and peak of his career. So he will offer leadership and he will bring goals to Vicarage Road because that's what we need. We need goals. And I think Britt Assombalonga is the perfect player to do so and is a perfect match and the perfect fit for the club that he started at. So it's great that he has come back and that Ben Manga and Helena Costa got him back here. So that's a good signing. You look at the other signings, Ryan Porteous, the defender who's come in from Hibernian, Scottish international. He's a young lad. I think he's 23 years old, whatever he is. At his age, he's 23. Young lad, he can offer a lot to Watford, and I think he'll be just fine here. And also, you've got someone the likes of Wes Hurt, who's come in from Southampton. He's a durable player, a veteran, 28 years of age, centre back, just like Ryan Porteous is. Player who can help you. He's had experience across all of the leagues pretty much in Europe. He has played in the Premier League before. So he is someone who's got leadership and experience. And I think that he is going to offer you something in defense. He's going to be an anchor alongside Craig Cathcart or whomever the center back pairing is going to be. Center half pairing is going to be there in that back line. And so these are good signings. I mean, all these signings are really good ones. I thought, and I don't think I'm leaving anybody out at the top of my on the top of my head at the moment. I think these are all good signings. I think Watford can benefit greatly from these. And when you consider the fact that there are roughly 10 players right now that are still injured for Watford, those players, once they are back healthy, are going to be like 10 new signings for Watford. They're going to have a lot of energy, a lot to prove. And I think that they are going to give a bit more stature to this team at the moment and a bit more of an anchor to them because I think they need that. And you'll have some players who, of course, are leaders, like a loser. Imran Loser is a leader. You'll have Tom Cleverley back in there. He's a leader as well. And those two players can already make a difference to you in terms of their stature and their leadership ability. I think both of them are good leaders. And so there's going to be a lot for Slaven Bilic to think about here in terms of who he mixes and matches. But the head coach should not be grousing at the moment. I think Slaven Bilic now, seeing the limitations of what Watford can do in a transfer market window, especially in January, seeing and recognizing that you got at least 10 players out injured now, including Ferreira and Francisco Sierralta, seeing the fact that you've got these players out. Matty Pollock got shipped out on loan. Domingos Quina is back out on loan again to Rotherham now this time. You've got Vincent Angelini, the young goalkeeper, who has said goodbye to Watford, is a promising young goalkeeper. He's gone. You've got Vakun Bio. He's gone out back to Belgium. So it's pretty much an admission that Vakun Bio has not worked out here at Watford so far. Now, look, I think Vakun Bio works very hard for the team, and he does. It's just the goal return is not good enough. And, he does score goals, but if you only scored 4 goals in 5 months of football or thereabouts, you're really, really not going to stick around very long. And who knows? Bakun Bio may have played his last game at Vicarage Road, may have played his last football for Watford FC. We will see about that. I hope he does bang in the goals for his previous club, and hopefully he can come back if he does with a goal scoring mentality all the way through for Watford. But we'll see about that. That remains to be seen. But when you look at those situations, and then the situation with Ismail Assar, Everton coming in for him at 21 million, that's an insult. Even though we know that Ismail Assar is not the player that he is at times or once was, the player that he was, say, 2 years ago when Watford got promoted from the Championship in that sensationally great Championship season when he was Player of the Year, Graham Taylor Player of the Year, we know that he's worth more than 21 million. I mean, do not insult us, Everton Football Club. That's ridiculous. 21 million? That's embarrassing now. Come on. Assar definitely is not worth 50 million in my view. He's worth maybe 30 to 35 at top side. So, that's the way I look at this in terms of how Watford did. The Courtney House situation is a real mess. It's a horrible mess, and I don't think Courtney House is going to play another minute of football for Watford, no matter what he decides and what happens. It's just an almighty mess there, and it's just a tough situation for someone who's a decent person to be going through that. As a footballer, as a person, that's just a rough situation. So that one's a tough one. And then the other thing is, João Pedro, as I said, would stay. I knew that. And of course, once he got injured, we all knew he would stay as a Hornet. But I think he and Ismail Assar are going to be leaving in the summer. That's my prediction. I've been saying it for a bit now. I hope I'm wrong about João Pedro because he's a diamond that you can really build around for the future. But when the Premier League comes calling you with big money, whether or not Watford go to the Premier League at the end of the season or not, he's going to be going somewhere. I mean, I don't think Newcastle will go in for him again because I think Newcastle are getting the players they want, but you never know. Newcastle have money to spend, and when you've got an owner for Newcastle who has money to spend, anything can happen in the summer transfer market, anything. So I wouldn't rule out possibly Newcastle again in the summer coming in for João Pedro, but I would say at this point that regardless, I think João Pedro is going to be gone after the season's over. Again, it pains me to say that. I would love to be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll come on here and say so, and say I'm sorry. But I do think that he's going to move on. this club in some areas is very unsettled, especially on the pitch, particularly on the pitch, specifically on the pitch. It's a very unsettled team. And I do think that what you're seeing is rebuilding before your eyes. I think that's happening. And I think you're going to see much more evidence of that once the summer transfer market hots up and gets going. So we'll see. We'll see about it. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Ben Manga is going to be a big reason why. Helena Costa as well, as the head of scouting, is going to be a big reason why you're going to see a lot more changes on the pitch. But right now, Slaven Bilic, knowing the limitations of what he has, and I think again, this was a very good window. I'll give it a B minus. I'll say B minus. This was a good window. We could have loved it to be better. I would have loved to have seen a right back, and I'm sure there are lots of other Watford supporters who would love to have seen a right back come in. But think about it. With what was out there in the market, there was not a lot going on for right backs. It was very, very slim pickings. And what I think Slaven Bilic is going to do is going to probably slot in Ryan Porteous on that right side, or someone of that ilk on that right side, and mix and match. That's probably what's going to happen. He might even bring back Dan Gosling to that right back position where he had been before his injury. So maybe that's what's happening. But Dan Gosling may be weeks and weeks away. Who knows? From getting back into the fold. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. He might decide to move cleverly. Excuse me. He might decide to move Craig Cathcart to that right back position. If you remember, when Watford got promoted to the Premier League back in the end of 2021, that 2021 to 2022 season, 2020 to 2021 season, remember that Craig Cathcart played maybe 15 to 20 games at right back. And particularly, I remember the game when we went to Carrow Road and beat Norwich 1-0 back in April of 2021. Cathcart played right back, and he played very well. He had a very good spell at right back. So I think you could see that scenario where the manager, Slaven Bilic, puts Cathcart on the right back end of things because, again, you got two right backs who are injured at the moment. You got Ferreira injured, Ngaki injured. There's a distinct possibility you might have Craig Cathcart playing right back. And then you might have Porteous alongside Wes Hurt in your central, your central defender pairing, your center half pairing. That's possibly what will happen. And then you'll have presumably Hassan Kamara on the left-hand side, if not James Morris. So that's what's going on, I think, with this club and on the pitch. I think the level of activity was good for Watford during this transfer window. But again, you're not going to get every single thing you want in these windows. No club does, pretty much, unless you're really one of the creme de la creme clubs that's spending, unless you're Chelsea, who made out very well in this window, and Arsenal, who got the player they wanted. Unless you're those kinds of clubs coming in with big money or coming in with a need that needs to be met, you're challenging for a title in the case of Arsenal in the Premier League, you're not going to get everything you want. You're just not going to. Liverpool, I don't think, signed a single player at all. Everton, I don't think, signed a single player. So both the Merseyside clubs in the Premier League did not sign anybody new, to the best of my knowledge, coming in to the end of this transfer window. So, they got a new manager in there at Everton, and they didn't have any new players. And so they're basically asking former Watford man Sean Dyche, here you are. It's all yours. So, I don't think Watford fans can really complain too much about this window. It could have been better, of course, but I think it's good marks here from Ben Manga, the technical director, and Helena Costa scouting on this. I think they've done very well here. I'll give it a B minus because, again, you want the right back. But I think they've done well here. Britta Sombalonga is going to bring you some good experience, some wisdom in that front line, and some leadership in it. He will communicate to these players in that forward line. He definitely will make sure that that's all sorted. So you've hired somebody who's a leader in that front line. He can not only score your goals, but he's a leader. Then you look at someone like Enrique Araujo. I mean, these are good signings. I can't believe I forgot his name. I did a Twitter Spaces earlier, and I completely forgot to mention Enrique Araujo. Also from Benfica. 19, 20-year-old. He looks like he's 25 or 26. He looks older, kind of like Sam Carlu, And we look at him and go, nah, he ain't 24. But the fact of the matter is, Enrique Araujo, I can't believe I didn't remember his name. So Watford have signed 7 or 8 players here. And I think that they've done a very good job. I'll say B minus because they didn't have the right back. But this is a very, very good window. Considering everything in context, this is a very good window for Watford. This has been the Orns observation.